Okay, what's up again, guys? Brian here at 3TR. Now, as I'm sure you can tell from the title, this is going to be a pretty straightforward video. Now, it's very rare, at least for me to encounter a video that has a statement that is so ridiculous, so out there, that I have to stop everything I am doing. I have to stop all my research for my next analysis video and make this video just to get my thoughts out, because I thought this topic died like over a year ago. But apparently it has come up again, and I've been given a second chance to voice my opinion on this topic. Now, I understand it might be somewhat controversial, and there might be some people that stand on the opposite side of this discussion, but I have a feeling that most people would side with me. And as you can tell from the title, I'm just going to go over my thoughts on why Tommy Oliver, the greatest Power Ranger who's ever existed, should not be a female in the upcoming sequel, if they ever do decide to do a sequel to the 2017 Power Rangers reboot, which I'm going to say right now, I actually did like. I didn't love it. I think it had some legitimate problems, but overall I had fun with it. Now, this video is in response to a recent IGN video, which I'll leave a link to that video so you can check it out that. But I basically agreed with everything the guy was saying in that video except the last two parts. Now I'm going to go into the main discussion of this video. Bottom line, you can't do it. You just can't, because Tommy Oliver is just too big of a character to try pulling some bullshit SJW publicity stunt and just making him a female for the hell of it. It's not gonna work. It can't work. It is something a lot of people, including me, would boycott. It is not something I support, because the idea of Tommy Oliver being a female kind of ruins one of the biggest storylines in Power Rangers history, and one of the biggest dynamics that has ever existed in Power Rangers, and that's kind of the dynamic between the Green and Red Ranger. Now, for those of you that don't know, there is always a big sort of rivalry between the Green and Red Ranger, because both Tommy and Jason were kind of they were kind of like the quintessential martial artists of that respective time periods, and they always had this kind of rivalry. If you were to make Tommy a female, I don't really think that dynamic would work. I'm not saying it couldn't work. I just don't think it really would. It wouldn't feel right. And I'm not saying that the Green Ranger could never be a female, because I think what they did in the first film about making Rita the Green Ranger was a absolutely brilliant decision. I was on board with that because it made perfect sense, because I don't recall in the show that they ever quite explained how Rita got a hold of the green power crystal. So making her the original Green Ranger made perfect sense. But moving forward, when you're talking about the true Green Ranger, Tommy Oliver is a guy. I don't really care what skin color you make him. You can make him black, Asian, Indian, Iraqian, I don't care. But the idea of making him a female just doesn't work. It's going to piss off a lot of people. And the reason why it's so important is that because moving forward, how are you going to transition that into becoming the White Ranger? Because as legendary and as iconic as the Green Ranger is, and I'm telling you, the Green Ranger is my all-time favorite Ranger of all time. But even I openly admit that I have more memories of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers with Tommy being the White Ranger than the Green Ranger. He was only the Green Ranger for a very short period of time. And the White Ranger was the quintessential leader of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I know that some of the old school fans like myself would like to think that it was Jason's team because he was the Red Ranger. But in actuality, once Tommy kind of showed up, we all kind of knew that he would eventually become the new leader. And I do believe that to this day, the White Ranger is the only leader of a Power Rangers team that isn't red. Ever since then, whenever they added a sixth Ranger, they never became the leader. They were like a part of the team, but the Red Ranger always remains the leader. I don't think that's changed since then. It's been like that for like well over 20 years. But going back to the topic. Now, if you wanted to make the Green Ranger a female, then just change the name. If I still don't think it would work, because I saw discussions in comment sections saying, well, why not just name it Tammy Oliver? And I think that's okay, but again, it kind of ruins the whole dynamic between the Green and the Red Ranger. That has to be established, and then you have to transition it into the White Ranger. And obviously, you can't make the Green Ranger as a female and turn into the White Ranger, because the White Ranger's leader. I'm not saying you can't have a female leader, but I just don't think that for the fan base that you are trying to draw in to see your movie, you don't want to do anything that's going to piss them off. And if Hasbro now now that they have acquired this property, I think that for the first time going, it would be best, both box office and business-wise, to play it safe and just not do anything that's going to piss the fans off. It's just not worth the risk. Especially if you were talking about toy sales, because that was like a big thing that Hasbro was really looking forward to, because apparently Power Ranger toys during that time period when the reboot movie came out were like super high. And unfortunately, as much as I enjoyed the film, it didn't really do all that well in the box office. And you know that if you bring in the Green Ranger, I think it'll do better box office wise. And so it just wouldn't be a smart thing to do to pull off this big publicity stunt by making Tommy Oliver a female. Now, another argument I heard in that video is because apparently they want to fix the whole, boy-girl ratio, because, there's always been more boys than more girls, and they want to fix that. My problem is, why is that an issue now? I do not recall at any time that there's ever been a moment where anyone complained about the ratio of boys and girls. As far as I'm concerned, there's always been more boys than girls. And no one's complained about it. If this guy is complaining about it in this video, this is the first time I have ever heard anyone complain about the ratio between boys and girls. But let's say that is an issue. If you really wanted to fix that, here's how I would do it. Now this is just, now I know I'm going a little bit off, but if you are so driven to have an equal number of females and males, this is what I would do. In the sequel, you bring in Tommy Oliver as a guy, as a Green Ranger. At some point near the end of the climax, like near or right before the final battle, there's this massive fight between the Green and the Red Ranger, between Tommy and Jason. And you do something that's absolutely shocking, because I know that some people might think this is shocking, but this is what I would do. At some point, you actually have Tommy Oliver flat out kill Jason. The Green Ranger successfully kills off the Red Ranger. So now the Red Ranger's dead, and the remaining 4 Rangers they're grief-stricken. They get encouraged, like, okay, we lost Jason, but we're gonna revenge him. And they somehow manage to take down Tommy. Somehow. And they manage to break, I guess at this point you'd have Lord Zed's control over Tommy. So now, Tommy's no longer bad, but Jason's dead. You're down a Ranger. At that point, if you wanted to bring in another girl to take over the Red Ranger spot, I think people would be okay with that. Because as far as I'm concerned, they only tried doing something similar to that in SPD, but that was an evil Red Ranger, but she wasn't really around all that long. But you have it so that, okay, you've replaced your dead Ranger, because Jason's now gone, so they don't have to do some sort of thing where Jason just kind of agrees to leave and pass his powers to Rocky, but that's a whole nother thing. But, okay, Jason died, you replace him with a female character now, and Tommy loses his Red Ranger powers. So now there's more girls than guys. And at some point, the new team going into the 3rd film, they kind of recognize that this new Red Ranger female is just not that good of a leader. And Zordon and everyone acknowledges that, okay, maybe even though the red power coin chose her, she just isn't a leader, because there's some people who can be leaders and there's some that can't, even if you're put in that spot. And at some point, let's say the Rangers are dealing with some sort of situation, and their leader, this female, is just not being able to handle any of this. And then Tommy, without any powers, manages to help the Rangers out. And he's like, even though I don't have any powers, I feel bad about killing Jason, let me help. And they're successful. And then at that point, you would have Zordon say, okay, this is something I like. Even though this person was once evil, he feels bad about killing Jason. I think he is worthy of this new power that me and Alpha are working on, and then that leads into Tommy becoming not only the White Ranger, but becoming the leader of the team. So now you have 3 male Power Rangers, 3 female Power Rangers, and you have a female Red Ranger, which, you know, that would be new. And you have the quintessential leader of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That's just how I would do it. I'm sure some of you might disagree, but like, if that whole ratio thing is such a big issue, that's how I would handle it. Because if this movie is successful and they get into a 3rd film, you have to introduce the White Ranger, and the White Ranger has to be a leader. That's just what I would do. But the overall viewpoint of just why I think it's a bad idea is because it just kind of goes against the history of the character. If they wanted to make Tommy Oliver female, just change the name. Change the name and have it be a one-time thing. Maybe they don't want to ever use the White Ranger and make it a one-time thing. So you bring in Tammy Oliver and she has the Green Ranger powers. It pisses people off. She loses her powers and then we don't see her ever again. And then moving forward, you're back to the original 5. Well, that kind of feels like a waste because, again, I think most people would want to see us have the White Ranger. But you can avoid all of those issues if you just don't take any risk and just give the fans a male Tommy Oliver as the Green Ranger. And then that makes for a much smoother transition into him becoming not only the White Ranger, but the new leader. Because I'm telling you, Tommy Oliver ain't a follower. I'm sorry, that guy is way too much of a leader to follow anyone's lead. I mean, I guess in some situations he wouldn't mind, but this is his team. I've always viewed the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers team as mostly always been Tommy's. Jason did an incredible job as the Red Ranger. He is absolutely, I would say, in my top 5 favorite Red Rangers. There's 4 other Red Rangers I would certainly put above him. But I just think that for the sake of the franchise, for the sake of the fandom, it would just not be a wise decision to try to pull such a risky move. Especially since you're just doing it to cause either controversy or you're not doing it for any good reasons. Just give the fans what we want. We want Tommy Oliver as the Green Ranger. We want him to remain a guy because we want him to eventually become the leader of the team. That's what the fans want. That's what we deserve. And there's no need to take any unnecessary risk. I like the amount of diversity that they added in this new team. I am absolutely on board with it. I had no issues with any of these characters, and heck, I would be more than happy to expand and learn more about these characters in the next film if they decide to do one. But when it comes to Tommy Oliver, that is the one Ranger in all of Power Rangers history. You could mess up any Ranger from any generation of Power Rangers, whether it be Space, Lost Galaxy, Lightspeed Rescue, SPD, Wild Force, Time Force, I guess Ninja Storm. You can mess with any Ranger, but leave Tommy Oliver alone, please. I hope that a sequel is made and that they just play it safe and just keep Tommy Oliver as the Green Ranger as a guy, because I want to see him become the White Ranger eventually and become the leader of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Those are just my thoughts. I would like to know, do you agree that Tommy Oliver should stay as a guy and that they should not try this SJW bullshit and try this stupid publicity stunt just to cause controversy for the sake of causing controversy? Or if you can actually come up with a way to make Tommy Oliver female and make it work that the fans would accept, I would really like to hear it in the comment section, because I honestly cannot imagine how that could work. Even if the film was good, people would be boycotting it, including me. So those are just my thoughts. These thoughts have been well placed for well over a year. I didn't think I'd have to share them, but apparently with this new video and the possibility that we could see a sequel come out in the near future possible, I just felt I should get my thoughts out today. So with that said, I want to thank all of you guys for watching. Please press one of the links in the description down below to follow me on Twitter and friend me on Facebook to keep track of my future videos. And if you guys have any more discussion videos or topics you'd like me to discuss, please feel free to tell me in the comments down below. And like always, I will see you guys next time, and I should go.